Okay, so I just literally finished Hyperdimension Neptunia MK2 about 10-15 minutes ago, and so now I think it's time for me to give my honest thoughts on the game. If anybody has the game or is thinking of buying it, I suggest you click off because this review will contain spoilers for the game. So, okay, so what did I think of it? It's probably going to be gushing or fanboyism, I guess you could say, but it's honestly one of the greatest RPGs I've ever played. I'm being 100% honest here. It's definitely. I just really enjoyed this game. I mean, I've spent a week and a half just playing it non-stop, and with the rate I play games, I normally finish RPGs in less than that. I think I completed Final Fantasy 13 in like from start to finish 2 to 3 days. Um, and that was when I also had college to go to as well. I had enough time to do that. But yeah, I really, really did enjoy this game a lot, and I think to me, it's a game that essentially shows that you can make a very well done, very enjoyable, low budget game in the games industry without having to spend like 10 million or however much it is to make like the latest Call of Duty, which is just a copy and paste box job. So I guess I'll have to go through all the main things. Let's go with the characters. In the first Neptunia, all the characters were quite memorable, but some of them I feel didn't really get as much screen time as they should have. Like I felt all of the CPUs, Whiteheart, Blackheart, and Greenheart, I thought all of them didn't get enough screen time during the first one, even though they were a main part of the story. In the second one, they've like doubled or maybe even tripled the characters, because you got Nepgear, Uni, Ram, Rom, all four of the Garcias, which is Neptune, Blanc, Vert, and Noir. You've got IF, Compa, Nisa, Ghost. You got two characters who are going to be DLC a little bit later. You got 5PB. So all the main characters, they actually, with the exclusion of Falcom and Cave, who are the two DLC characters, they get a lot of screen time. They get a lot of development, and there's a lot for the side characters as well. The can't remember all of their names. Histoire, Chica, Mina, and I can't remember what the last station side character was. I'm pretty sure it'll come to me a little bit later. They get quite a bit of screen time as well, and so yeah, basically all the characters that appear, they definitely get a lot of screen time. The only ones that didn't get a lot of screen time was most of the villains. I feel that, especially R4, she could have gotten a lot more screen time, whereas it's just like you get one scene with her, then you get another scene with her, and then one more, and that's it. Yeah, she only gets like 3 Cs, and I know that she's meant to be like the final boss and such, but I don't know. I feel that she didn't get a lot of screen time. Underling and Pikaru, I felt got a little bit too much screen time. Well, Pikaru was alright. I think Underling got a bit too much screen time. I mean, I understand she's meant to be like the over persistent villain, but I kind of did get a bit frustrated just seeing her all the time. I wanted to see what the CFW, the four felons were like. They didn't get that much screen time either, especially Magic. I actually would have wanted to see more of Judge, because Judge to me was just absolutely off his rocker, but not in the creepy way like Trick is, which I'll probably explain. In fact, yeah, I'll explain what the four felons are, because why it'll explain who they are. They're meant to like represent things in the industry in an evil sense, I guess. CFW Judge is apparently meant to be like the frustration or something like that that game developers get when they find that their products are pirated, and I'll mention that in the story. CFW magic is meant to represent fanboys and fangirls. I don't know how that relates to pirating, but I'm guessing they're fanboys and fangirls of pirating or whatever. I don't know. And, well, I didn't mention the traits either. Judge is just completely batshit insane. He just wants to kill everything. Magic, and Magic to me felt like your typical generic villain, I guess you could say. You know, just evil, wanting to do things, just not caring so long as she gets her way, and so on. And then you got CFW Brave, who, I swear to God, he looks like Optimus Prime. I know he's based off another game, but to me, he looks a bit like Optimus Prime. As in the older, like, what was it, 70s, 80s TV show, not like the Michael Bay movie ones, not those kind. Brave was actually a pretty cool villain. Because he was he was the only villain that wasn't completely evil. You know, you could tell there was a lot of good in him. And he was meant to represent children who cannot afford these games, so they resort to piracy. And believe it or not, I actually felt that, at least for me, I'm pretty sure a lot of other people could as well, that you could relate more to him, because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people who, you know, the temptation is there to pirate a game just because we can't afford it right now. Like, I know a couple of people that have got, that are worried about games that they really want that are coming out recently. And I know one of them that did that pirated games because he couldn't afford them. And I'm not going to lie, I have done that in the past as well. I mean, I still kind of do, but it's only if I'm going to buy them, like, the second I get the money, and I don't mean, like, long range. I'm like, okay, in about a year, I'll pirate this now and get it in about a year. No, it's like, I'll pirate this now and get this as soon as. It could be a couple of weeks, so just, yeah, but, like, for me, I don't know. I would like to see, if they do make a Neptunia 3, I'd like to see more of Brave, because he's definitely, out of all the villains there, he's definitely one of my favorite in terms of coolness factor. And the last one is CFW Trick. He's my favorite villain, but I think it's for the wrong reason. Trick is meant to represent, like, cheaters. You know, they enjoy cheating. I don't know how that relates to Piracy either. I guess it's just the fact that you can cheat out people. But the thing is that is the reason why I don't think it's a good thing that he's my favorite villain, is he is, without a doubt, a pedophile. There's no debating about it. He's a pedophile. Because there is a scene in the game, it's not an optional scene either, it's there in the main story, where you have to fight two of the CPUs, RAM and ROM, because they've been brainwashed, and they're about, like, 4, 5, 6 years old, and when you beat them and they snap out of it, Trick appears, and he feels sorry for them or something like that, and says, how dare you harm these nubile maidens. I don't know what nubile is, but I can only assume it's, well, yeah, and he basically takes RAM and ROM and licks them all over, like, everywhere, no joke. It's not shown visually, because they don't show visuals much. It's mainly either visual novel style or just like dating sim style, I guess you could say. But the audio is there, and Remeron do pretty much point out that he's licking them in inappropriate places, and Trick, to me, as I said, he's funny because he's crazy, but he has a serious side. When he means business, his, like, vocal thing changes, and he actually sounds a bit like Pumbaa from The Lion King, which was kind of funny. I wonder if it's the same voice actor. He's crazy, pretty much, but he's also serious, so that's why I like him. Just the fact that he is so out of his mind, but not like he's over the top, pretty much. He's like really over the top, and there's another scene as well where he actually says that he needs to get his knitting kit out to start knitting like swimsuits, furry suits, school models, because apparently when he gets the CPUs, he can do whatever they want, and all the CPUs are preteen. So you can, as I said, he's a pedophile. So yeah. So I just spent a good 10 minutes talking about the villains, haven't I? I'll go into more detail about them when I talk about the story. Next, we'll talk about the graphics. I'm not really much of a graphics whore. I still play the old. I still play old 8-bit games. You know, I love how Mega Man 9 looks, for example. I still play it because I don't care about the graphics. I still play the old Sonic games. I mean, I've got Sonic 2 on my iPod. But I can say one thing, that Neptunia 1's graphics... I'm going to be comparing Neptunia 1 and 2 a lot here. Neptunia 1's graphics, well, at least texture-wise, the textures were crap in Neptunia 1. They look like something from a PlayStation 1, which, okay, if it was on a PlayStation 2, that'd be fine, but this is the PlayStation 3, so the bar has been raised a bit. For me, MK2, its textures blew me away because they looked really nice, honestly. I mean, you don't get to see many of the textures because, as I said, it's mostly like CG visual novel style, but when you do, you can tell that there was a lot of effort put in, especially in the backgrounds. Like the backgrounds when you're actually in the maps, not in like a cutscene. There's a lot of detail in the background. Like you can just sit there for like a good hour or so and just look at it, analyze of how it looks. So yeah, that's all I can really say about the graphics. My only complaint really is just that you don't get to see a lot of it. It's mostly just visual novel artsy style. Visual graphics, not you know what I mean. It basically, it's, you can tell it's been drawn, it's not textures, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So I guess I'll talk about the combat system as well. Neptunia 1 kind of stuck with the old Final Fantasy style, but had a combo system, and it was alright, but it was very slow and sluggish, and it was just a case of just mashing combos, and with the CPUs, it was just a case, first combo, just make a change into CPU, and then just choose your strongest link combo. In Neptunia MK2, they completely revamped the system. Like, now you have to actually move towards your enemies. Certain attacks can attack at a certain range or attack a certain amount of enemies. Your weapons can attack different things. Like, you can make one that will only attack like one square in front of you. It's not gridded to say, but like the attack area is gridded. Whereas if you attack, it's like a square basically. And depending on your attack, it depends on the size of those squares. So it's kind of on a grid, kind of isn't. I guess you could say it's similar to Civilization's kind of thing, where you can move anywhere, but technically it's on a grid. I also like the fact as well how you have to work towards getting your CPUs into their HDD form, which is like basically a super form. And you have to work to maintain it as well, because you need to get like 100 special points, and then when you transform, you lose like, I think it's like 10 each time you finish a move. So you have to keep combos and hits going, otherwise your supply and demand won't go there, and also all your special moves are a lot stronger. So I would love to have more games have this battle style, because for me, it didn't feel tacked on, it didn't feel rushed. It actually, the closest I can refer it to is Valkyria Chronicles combat style. That one was similar, but in a different way. I personally think Valkyria Chronicles did it better. But then again, Valkyria Chronicles is my favorite game of all time, so I cannot really... that could be blind fanboyism. I don't know, but like I would love to see more games using Neptunia's style, because I don't know. I guess I'm getting a tiny bit sick of turn-based or Final Fantasy style, because nothing against Final Fantasy. Obviously, it did revolutionize and start RPGs, but I think that some of the things that they're doing there is starting to get old and tired and just not working. Like Call of Duty, that's getting old and tired and everything, but idiots are still buying it. I'm not saying that people are idiots buying the latest Final Fantasy, I'm just saying. So yeah, sound now, I'll go on to sound. And this will include voiceover work. In the first Neptunia, the music was okay, but wasn't memorable. The only tracks I really enjoyed was the opening theme of Neptunia, which I can't remember its name because it was in Japanese, and I cannot remember I can't even remember things in my own language half the time. Ugh, excuse me. And when you're fighting Noir, those were the only two things that I really remember from Neptunia that really stood out for me. I mean, everything else was just so-so. It was okay. It worked, but it was repeated a lot. MK2 has a lot more tracks, and they're a lot more memorable. Actually, all of them are well done. What am I saying? They're all well done. I find I'm usually debating with myself which opening I like more, Neptunia 1's opening song or Neptunia 2's, because they're all, like, Neptunia 1 has that kind of epic feel, Neptunia 2's got that really upbeat, happy feel and all that stuff. And the other tracks I really enjoy. My only gripe is I've got the original soundtrack and they don't have all the songs there, so it's kind of funny since the entire game is based off piracy, but a lot of people are probably going to have to quote-unquote pirate. Well, I don't think it's really pirating, it's more like a game rip of all the songs, and then people are going to have as the original soundtrack, plus the ones from the thing, so Compile Heart and such, if you're listening, can you try and do us a favor and re-release Neptunia MK2 soundtrack, not only as digital for those of us that kind of can't afford it, the post-compatibility and importing and all that fun stuff, but also actually have all the songs instead of a handful of them. I mean, the ones that are on the original soundtrack are good. I really like them. It's got the battle theme, it's got several of the arena themes, it's got Nepgear's theme and such, which is a nice little upbeat thing, which kind of felt weird to me because it was at the end of the game, but whatever. Yeah, the sound I enjoyed. The voice work, once again, really, really good job. It's more of a personal gripe. I personally didn't like how some of the voice actresses and voice actors sounded, but that might just be a personal thing with me. I think the quality of it is great. One thing I really want to know, though, is who the hell voiced the males. Not because they were, like, the best of the best, because MK2 and the first one is mostly female character based. So I'd like to know who the males were, because I don't know, I like them. I also want to know who Brave and Trick were voiced by, because they were two good ones. And as I said, they were my favorite villains in the entire thing. So, yeah. Should I say about gameplay? I'd like to say about gameplay, but I can't really think of the words for it. So I guess I'll go down. I guess I'll go to the story. I mean, after all, we've been here nearly 20 minutes. So, the story. Neptunia 1, I'm not gonna lie, had a weak story. I mean, you knew what it was, but it wasn't really. It was all light-hearted. This one, MK2. My God, I can't believe they could actually make a serious story in a game that is meant to just take the piss out of the gaming industry in absolutely every way, shape, or form. And I'll actually mention a few things there. But, the entire moral of the story is all down to piracy. The main villain, R4, is meant to represent the R4DS cartridge, which I'm not going to say anything to those that are watching that do own them, but as a student at a university, I'm talking about here, who intends to go into the industry, I would not like it if people pirated my stuff. I mean, when I pirate things, I feel a huge amount of guilt for doing it. That's why I don't pirate things unless I'm definitely going to buy them soon. Because it's cheating it's cheating people out of their livelihood. And there's actually literally a good 5-minute scene between Uni and Brave literally discussing the good and bad of piracy. And yeah, piracy for me, it rubs me the wrong way. I found out several of my relatives own R4 cartridges, and I would have ripped into them if it wasn't for the fact it was my cousin's birthday party then. So I couldn't, because it would just have... No, it... See, this is why I said piracy is my hot button. But yeah, it really actually throws a strong message out to how things go with piracy. Because, like, the world of game industry is, like, based off the faith of people. And if people support the piracy, then the faith in the other CPUs, which are representing the consoles and the handhelds, drops. And if it drops far enough, then they can, like, become incredibly ill or even die. And I think that's a really strong message, showing that piracy, it may not seem like much. I mean, that's how the supporters in the game make it seem like that. It's no real biggie because these, the other CPUs are alive. That's people's stance with piracy. It's like, these companies are still standing. They're doing fine. So what's the harm in it? And the message that they get to say is, yes, it doesn't seem like it to begin with, but as more and more people do it, and the longer and longer people do it, the damage becomes apparent, and it causes... the beginning of Neptunia, the 4 CPUs lose because of the fact that they had a lack of faith, and that's because there was a lot of faith in that, so they got beaten by piracy. And that's essentially what this game points out, that yes, piracy... Yes, there can be some good things about it. Yes, there are some solid points. Like, as I said, Brave and Uli, they discuss about it. Brave brings up a valid point. Should children who cannot afford to buy these games be left out of the enjoyment themselves? To answer that, I can't answer that question. To me, it's almost as big as the question as abortion. Probably it's not as severe repercussions, granted, but it's the same style. There is no right or wrong answer. Should children be cheated out of an enjoyment of a game just because they don't have the money for it? No, I would like everyone to enjoy products that at least that people have made, because there's a lot of things of enjoyment, but at the same time, I don't really want them to have to resort to stealing from the people that made this game just to enjoy it. I don't see an answer to that though. So it's like, yeah, the story really does make you think about piracy if you take it seriously, which I'm not going to lie, for the first half I didn't, because I had finished Neptunia 1, which didn't take itself seriously, but it does throw a few things, obviously, that are lighthearted to keep with things, but for the most part, the main hardline of it is quite a serious discussion, and it's like, the multiple endings things also kind of points out as well. Like, I'll get to the endings in a bit, because that's obviously the ending. I'll point out a few things I enjoyed about the story. As I said, yes, it's serious. It had... Honestly, Neptunia had more comedy, but I think MK2 had less but higher quality comedy. Like, there were quite a few scenes where I just had to stop and burst out laughing. Like, as I said, that scene with, well, actually, no, that one was kind of, I'm really piling things up that I want to debate on. Okay, yes, there is a comedy, like, the Oracle, there's, like, the advisors for Leanbox, which is a representative of the Xbox, gets captured, and, one of the main villains, called, Linda, but everyone calls her Underling, because she said that she's a soldier, so you're kind of like an underling then, it's stuck. Basically disguises herself as the Leanbox Oracle, who's called Chica. And then when they find her, she's like acting as if she's dying, and then Cave, who's another one of these characters who I mentioned, just says, this would be as you would call bullshitting. Because the fact that you realise that Chica is just an attention seeker. I don't know if that's meant to represent something about the 360. I don't know. Maybe people who hate the 360 can say it, or maybe it's advertised. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to that kind of stuff. so on and so forth. And also some of the scenes with Ram and Ram and Nepgear, I feel like that's actually a small point poking fun at the rivalries that the two shared. Or maybe it was, and I don't know why, but for some reason Sega and Uni, and who's a PlayStation 3's CPU thing, and Nepgear, they both seem to relate really well with each other. I don't know if that's because of some sort of developer thing. That reminds me. One of the things as well that I love about this game is the fact that I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry if by some miracle you're watching this guy who created Devil May Cry and Mega Man. It's awesome the fact that he is in the game and how he's even a summon. You know, he's been immortalized. You know, you don't see Miyamoto or Kojima or Kotick. You don't see any of them getting immortalized because it's not a character. Okay, it's literally a scanned picture of him. I'm not making this up. It's a scanned picture of him, and he's a summon. He either fires laser beams out of his mouth, shoot to whoop, blah, yeah, we get it. Or he's used as a sword. Don't ask how that works, just don't. But yeah, what was the other one? Oh, one of the things that I really enjoy as well is that Compile Heart acknowledge the fact that Sega... Give me a second. Give me a second. My radio was on for a second there, so I was starting to sweat, so I decided to turn it off. Compile Heart actually references the fact that it was Sega themselves that achieved online console gaming. It wasn't the Xbox, as many people believe. If you read up on it, the Dreamcast came out first, and the Dreamcast incorporated online console gaming with Phantasy Star Online. But they do point out that actually that entire scene, they reference things like let me see. Noir references the fact that the PlayStation 3 is online. Is completely free. And also a little bit earlier, they actually referenced the PlayStation Network hack, which I find was kind of funny. Vert says about how Leanbox, created online console game, but then she says, "Sorry, Neptune, but we just did it better," which I'm not gonna lie, they probably did. But that's because Sega had to deal with all the bugs beforehand. And Blanc, who is the Louis, who represents Louis, said about how the 360 and Noir, the 360 and PS3, basically copied motion control, because she said how she was the founder. And that's also another creative thing. They actually point out that R4 originated from the Wii, which is, by real standards, yes, the R4DS cartridge originated for the Nintendo DS, which is owned by Nintendo, which makes the Wii, which in Neptunia MK2 is the Wii. So, bada bing ba boom, these guys know their shirts, which is awesome. And then of course you got the CPU candidates, who are Ram, Nepgear, and Uni, who are just there playing games and enjoying themselves. You know, they're like the kind of people that aren't competitive like the other four are. I know that it was probably a bit early that I said I would talk about, but I cannot remember now, so I'm really just gonna skip everything else, really, because I've rambled on and off. It's nearly half an hour, so it's like what kind of rant is it? Gene Wilder or something like that? Gene Stilder? I don't know. Doug Walker mentioned it when he reviewed Twilight Breaking Dawn, so if people have seen his actual review of Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, then you'll know who he's talking. You know who he means. So, Christ, I'm about to overtake the Nazareth Craig's Breaking Dawn thing, but that doesn't matter. I guess now I just gotta go down to my complaints. Honestly, surprisingly, I've got very few. Well, one thing, I think that getting all of the end... Oh, no, that was what I was going to talk about, the endings! I just remember now. There is, let's see, there's those four, then there's that, then there's that. I think there's about 8 endings in the game. There's the true canon ending, which I got in my first playthrough. There's there's 2 really dark endings, which actually shocked me, and then the other 5 are based on something else. Basically, 4 of them are just if one does better than the other. So it's like Planetune does better. Well, it's the Planetune ending. Lean box, and it's a lean box ending, etc., etc., etc. And that's just with all of them. Then there's another one where apparently a console is made that basically ends the other 4 consoles. So, there is no competitism between the two because all games can be played on this console. It literally does everything. But, if I remember correctly, the thing actually points out that just because making a console... As I said, this goes back to the fact that they actually seriously discuss to the player about piracy. They pretty much say just because this console has been made, that ends it all, that ends piracy, ends the 4 consoles. So sure they can get pirated, but this one can't. But it's just like, they point out quite solely that piracy will always exist. It doesn't matter if you make a new console that uses hardware that apparently makes it unpiratable. Piracy does exist. I'm not too sure if they actually fully mention it. I didn't see that ending, but now we're going to go to the dark ending. This is some really big spoilers. Because when you play through Neptunia, yeah, sure, it's got dark bits, but for the most part, it's a light, upbeat kind of game. And then these 2 endings come along. And it's just, I haven't unlocked them, but I've read about them. The second I finished, I read up on the other endings, and I really don't want to go through those endings because they're so dark in a light game. The first one is they win, but the thing is, the 4 main CPUs, Vert, Blanc, Noir, and Neptune, sacrifice themselves in order to take down R4. So essentially, that leaves Leanbox without anyone but the Oracle, and the CPU candidates without sisters. And considering the character development, because it does have quite good character development in this, not as good as like Valkyria Chronicles, because again, favorite game of all time, but for a low budget game and such, it's got really good character development. And considering how well developed and refined the characters are, especially for the CPUs if you played the first game, it's really upsetting knowing that they died, because they were memorable. That's the thing, all the characters are memorable, and the ruling ending is even worse, because you get like this sword called the Demon Sword, and in order to power it up, you actually have to kill the 4 goddesses. Neptune, Blanc, First Noir, you have to kill all of them. And to finish it all off, once you kill R4 with it, R4 actually possesses Nepgear. And it's just... that is dark, because it implies that Piracy won, which essentially that's what the ending means. Piracy wins. Because I don't know what the Demon Blade is. It might be something that is based off Piracy. It might be R4's own blade. I don't know. All I know is that I'm probably not going to get any of these endings because they're not the true canon one. The true canon one's really... it's once again all nice and upbeat. The only thing that irritated me about it is that they use the fucking feelings excuse. Like, you can win because you've got my feelings, or you can win with the power of love. I fucking hate that. Especially since this game is rated 16. And I can understand the feeling thing if it's like 7 tops, but not 16. Like, I'm 20... I wouldn't say that to anyone. It's just like, you can win because you've got the feelings to. Like, if it's just like you got the determination to, or the motivation, then yeah, sure, but feelings, no. I mean, feelings play a part in it, but no. But other than that, the ending, the true canon endings are really good, and it saddens me, but that's where I get to the complaint thing. So on to the complaints. First thing I'm probably going to say is the dungeons. There are quite a few of them, but the thing is if they are in the same kind of environment, say like if they're in a field, then from what I've seen, especially with a lot of them, it is mostly they've literally copied and pasted and added or removed a few areas, and of course changed the monsters and the item spawns, and that annoys me a bit because I in an RPG I like to explore my options. I mean, that's most of those 2 or 3 days, which I said about Final Fantasy 13, was mostly spent just exploring Grand Pulse, and that's one thing. That's one of the reasons why I dislike Final Fantasy 13. For me, the last great Final Fantasy game was 12, because you could literally go everywhere pretty much at the beginning. But I didn't like it per se. But I didn't hate it. You know, it wasn't like, oh, it's just sheer laziness. Because at the same time, what I'm taking into account is that it's a low budget game. Which also, funnily, makes it rare. So, woohoo! I got a rare game. Just the same like with the first Neptunia, which I think now in the States you can get it for like, I think it's now like $120 or something like that. Something absurd. And of course, they've already sold out in NIS America's site. So, yeah. That's really the only complaint gameplay wise. Oh yeah, the other one is the whole treasure searching thing. In Neptunia 1, IF had a treasure hunting ability where if you press a button, she like raises her hand up and like a small sort of line of sight pointer thing kind of points in the direction of where the hidden treasure chest is. In Neptunia MK2, you just press circle and it sends like a sort of small like radar boop, you know, like boop, boop. And if anything's near it, then it gets revealed. I found that annoying because if I wanted to get all the items, I'd have to like go forward a little bit, press circle, go forward a little bit, press circle, and it just seemed tedious and long. Which is kind of ironic because we're nearly at 40 minutes. So that's really that thing. The other thing is more of a personal reason, but I'm hoping that people will understand when I explain it. I'm uncomfortable about about the main heroines and the sheer size of the sexual overtones. Like, you don't even know. To begin with, the main CPUs. I think Netgear is like 14 or something like that. I'm just basing that on logs. This is Japan after all, but, you know, they're the younger sisters of the main CPUs, and I think those are barely 18. And Uni is like 12 or maybe 10. I'm guessing about 12 or so. And Ram and Ram, I said, are about 4 to 6. And their HDD states are pretty much the exact same as the main CPU. No, actually, they're more than the main CPU. The main CPUs, they wear like it looks a bit like a full bathing suit kind of thing. There's going to be an image there of Neptune in her little suit thing. And okay, that's a bit awkward. Yes, but it's not... I'll let it slide because they're technically like, you know, legal age and such. But then the sequel comes along and they do the same treatment. No, they do worse. At least for Uni and Netgear, because they get like all four of the CPUs get like a full form, which like basically turns them from CPU candidates to CPUs. And Uni and Netgears especially are incredibly more revealing. And it's awkward, and no, I don't like it because you're essentially looking at softcore lolly porn, and I actually say this as a joke, but I'm actually semi-serious that I'm half expecting a policeman just to burst into my room and arrest me for having these kind of things. I know that they can't because the thing got okayed over here. Amazingly got 16 on 18, which is what I would probably give it. Just the same rating I would give the first Neptunia because well, I'm not going to go into that because I'm already too long. And I already pointed out how Trick is an outright pedophile. And a lot of the attacks that your characters do are upskirt shots. Like, even Ram and Rom have them with their starter moves, Ice Coffin. It's like... I don't really think that lowers the game much, because it's Japan, you know, you expect that. I mean, hell, it's even got a hot sauna scene in it. That's quite popular in JRPGs nowadays. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I've been rambling on for about 40 minutes and I can't even remember what the hell I was talking about 40 minutes ago. So yeah. So what do I really think about MK2? Honestly, I would highly recommend people play this game. If if it's a good or a bad game or not, but just to show people, especially if you want to get into game development. If you want to be a games developer, I recommend getting this game because it shows you, and get the previous one because getting both of them shows what you can do on a low budget game and also how you can improve on a low budget game, and also, if you want an RPG that doesn't take itself seriously, that it just intends to take your laugh, but also as well get a serious message across, this is definitely a good game to get. It's, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite games of all time. As I said, it doesn't beat Valkyria Chronicles. I don't think anything's gonna beat Valkyria Chronicles, unless they improve on the things that Valkyria Chronicles suffered from, but that's just, I've not seen that been done yet, so yeah. But other than that, it's, the Neptunia games get bashed by critics. I think MK2's got like a 5, but it gets praised by users. I think it's got an 8. I personally give MK2 a 9.5. And that's it, really.